Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slanging in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige. Hey, ladies. I am so excited that you're back for another episode of Pink Radio with Prestige. Today, we're going to take our theme from the fabulous ladies of the Women's Fest, which is Bloom Where You Are Planted. So, of course, I had the awesome honor of being their special guest at their Sip and Bloom. And this was the topic that I had to speak on to really go in alignment with their topic for their conference. So before I jump right into today's episode, let me just give a nice little shameless plug of their conference. So the Women's Fest conference will be August 24th. And if you want more information about where it's going to be, how to register for tickets, please feel free to go onto their Instagram profile at the Women's Fest. Okay, so their whole entire theme for the conference is Bloom Where You Are Planted, and so I decided to speak to the women at their networking event around this particular topic because for me, it really hit home, and I felt that it was a message that we really should explore because ultimately, we don't like to bloom where we are planted. I feel that what we want to do is we want to bloom in other soil. We want to bloom in other situations. We want to bloom with other opportunities. But where we are right now, the season that we're in right now, what we're experiencing right now, we don't really feel great about it because we wish that we had more or that we were further off with or further along with opportunities, further along with certain endeavors. And so what happens is that then we just kind of either stop or we're in this very stagnant stage because we're not quite at the point that we think we should be. So then we don't really want to do the work required to get there because we need everything else around us to change. And the reason why I love that the Women's Conference is going, or the Women's Fest Conference is going to be talking about this is because the reality is that life happens. And so regardless of what happens in life, you still have to bloom. Because if you truly believe that you're a purposepreneur, if you truly believe that you have a business that is aligned with your purpose and your God-given talents and gifts, then you have to understand that your purpose, your job, your whatever your business is, it has nothing to do with you. It's not an egocentric journey. It's very much about being a blessing to others. It's about using your brand or your company as an advocacy to help further along your tribe. It's about truly believing that your business is the solution to whatever it is that your tribe is experiencing. So it's not about where you are in your life. It has nothing to do with what's happening in your life. It's about how you're overcoming those challenges to ensure that you're still able to bloom. What a powerful theme. What a powerful theme. So that's why I decided, you know what? That is going to be the theme for what we talked about at their Sip and Bloom last week. And I thought that it was such a great conversation that we had with the women that were in the room that I just couldn't help but to say, let's bring this on to Pink Radio with Prestige as well. So we're going to talk about blooming where you are, blooming in your current situation, blooming despite obstacles that you may be experiencing in your life. And so we're going to kick it off by first even identifying what is going on in your life and how do you overcome those things. So in the room last week, I started to ask women what were some of the things that they were going through in life. Because the reality is that when you stop an endeavor, when you stop working on your business because life happens, it's not something that just happens out of the blue. It's because there's something or someone that is telling you in the back of your mind that because these things are occurring, you cannot take on this business venture. You cannot continue on this journey. And so usually that voice or that thing that you hear is your gremlin. So if this is not your first time with me on Pink Radio with Prestige, you know all about the gremlin. But in case you don't, the gremlin is that little voice in the back of your head that tells you you're not smart enough, good enough, wise enough, talented enough, educated enough, young enough, old enough to do ... And ... is whatever it is in your life you hope to accomplish. So I asked women, tell me some of the things that you want to accomplish, but you feel like there's a gremlin that's keeping you from being able to accomplish it. So these awesome, brave, and transparent women shared that there's education that's being put on hold. There's business ventures that are being put on hold. There's their level of exposure with their businesses that are being placed on hold, all because their gremlin is telling them something very specific about their journey. So maybe, well, in one case, the woman who was trying to finish her master's program said, I have kids, I don't have the right support. Another woman shared that, it's in another apparel line. It's just so many people who have apparel lines out there. Like, who just needs another one? Another person shared she doesn't get the support that she needs with the growth of her brand. And so we began to explore each one of these challenges that were happening in these ladies' lives, and we began to debunk those myths that the gremlin was telling them. And here's the thing that I want you ladies out there listening to understand is that when we're in this space where the gremlin is telling us something that is not true, what ends up happening is that we believe it because there are these things that happen in our lives that the gremlin says, see, this is why you can't do A, B, and C. And the one thing you have to remember is that the gremlin is the enemy, and the enemy is definitely a key manipulator, a true deceiver. And so, the enemy really has this talent and gift of really skewing truth into making you believe whatever twisted, manipulated, false narrative that the enemy wants to create. And so for this woman who is, putting her master's, or was trying not to put her master's on hold, but really struggles with this support with these kids, basically her gremlin is telling her, if you have kids, you can't get a master's degree. That's ultimately what we found out that her gremlin was telling her. And yet there were women in the room who have masters, if not more, and also have children. See, the important thing is for you to understand when you're going through this journey too, is that when you have decided to become a purposepreneur, when you've decided that you are going to have a business that is going to help further your tribe, it's no longer an egocentric journey. It's no longer just about you. But what the enemy will do is the enemy will make everything about you. And you have to be very, very careful about this, because this is what the enemy will do. The enemy will make you want your business to generate a certain amount of income so you can have this lifestyle. Very egocentric. Listen to the themes here. Egocentric and focus on worldly things, right? He will have you focused on recognition. He will have you focused on how many followers you have. He will have you focused on what items can you afford, what lifestyle can you afford. He will have you focused on building a business so that you can have freedom in your life, not about anything else, right? It's all about not having a boss, not having freedom. That's not what your business is for. I mean, if we just even look at business in the sense of why you should even start a business. In your business plan, the very first part of your business plan asks you, what problem do you solve for your targeted demographic? And the last time I checked, your target demographic was not you. Your targeted demographic is not you. You were not writing a business plan and putting it in front of investors or putting it in front of banks asking for a loan for you. You are asking investors to invest in an idea that's going to change the lives of others. But yet, the enemy will have you believe that everything that you're doing is an egocentric task. It's about tangible items. It's about glory, fame, recognition, all the things that have nothing to do with the forward movement of others. And just in that same vein as the enemy will have you think about all of these very egocentric things that you want for getting these tangible things, In the same vein, the enemy will discourage you and make that same level of discouragement all about you. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. No one wants to hear your voice. No one wants to hear from you. You're just another person in a large sea of noise. It becomes all about you. Your pity party becomes about you. Your inability to be able to reach whatever goal or level of success that you set for yourself becomes about you. See, all of that talk about being the solution for a targeted demographic goes out of the door. All of that saying that you are an advocate and that you are focused on solving the problem of that targeted demographic or your tribe no longer is even part of the conversation because you're too wrapped up in you. So you have to be very careful when the gremlin begins to have these conversations with your mind or your conscious self, because what ends up happening is that you become so wrapped up in you that you can't even see beyond yourself to see that the narrative that the enemy is creating is false. So that a mom who's trying to go after her master's degree will really believe that a mom cannot have education even while sitting in a room surrounded by moms who have master degrees, who has their PhDs, who have bachelors, who has all these other certifications, who may have their JD. I mean, it is amazing to me how manipulative the enemy can be. And what's even more amazing to me is how we fall for it every single time. Blooming where you are planted is about understanding that your entrepreneurial journey is not about you. You are here to provide fruit. You are a tree that's going to provide fruit. And trees do not provide fruit for themselves. They provide it for the pleasure or the nourishment for others. Now, of course, I believe that your business should be fruitful. I believe that your business should be profitable. I believe that your business should generate revenue. But I also believe that when we put money at the forefront of what we're doing, opposed to focusing on our purpose, we end up going down a road that really does not give us the satisfaction that we need. It takes us down a road that takes us further away from our purpose and completely takes us away from the alignment of what God has for us. Does that mean that we won't get rewarded? Does it mean we'll never receive money? Absolutely not. That doesn't mean that. So instead of chasing the bag, chase your purpose. Instead of talking about you want to secure the coin, secure your promise in making sure that you are helping others. And that you become such a trusted resource that when others talk about you and share your brand with others, then it's so much easier for them to trust into your brand as well, because now you're constantly being talked about in circles where there's trust. You want to be a trusted brand. You can't do that, though, on a road of an egocentric journey. You can't do that if you're constantly focused on just you. You can't do that if every time there's a bump in the road, you just stop. Because the one thing that a trusted brand has to be is consistent. A trusted brand has to show up. A trusted brand has to know which season it's in, so it can respect and appreciate whatever process it needs to go to be healthy, to be vital, financially, and any other sense of the word. So what I really want for you as we talking about blooming where you're planted while we're celebrating the awesome women of the Women's Fest is the need for you to understand that when life happens, it is not our turn to wilt and wither and dry up. It is not our time to say, I'm going to go into this space where I only think about me and I can't focus on anyone else. It is your time to focus on how you are going to be a blessing to others through your business, through your brand. It's a time for you to say, despite these challenges, How am I going to persevere? Despite these challenges, what new things can I come up with? How can I create new ideas? How can I be creative and think of new ways to solve the problems that my tribe is experiencing? It's time for you to get over yourself. It's time for you to start thinking about yourself as the advocate that you are. Focus on the advocacy that you support and really become and step into that purposepreneur that you truly are. I love that the women of the Women's Fest even came up with their own term called the Bloompreneur. That's who you are. You are going to bloom where you're planted, because where your roots are, you can't just pick up and go somewhere else. You are in a situation that you are in right now for a reason. Bloom in that space. There's a reason for you. Now, if you're in a harmful situation, something that's going to bring danger to your life, uproot, quick, get up out of Dodge, now. But if you're in a position where it's just an obstacle, where you can't figure out the lesson, or you feel like you're seeing some challenges, you need to figure out what blooming looks like for you despite those obstacles. Because it's your space where you need to grow. There's something that you need to do where you are right now. You have to figure that out. So if the gremlin's speaking to you and saying that you are not smart enough, wise enough, educated enough, beautiful enough, skinny enough, whatever the case may be, I want you to squash that gremlin. Because the reality is that you can do whatever it is that your heart desires with your business. Just make sure you're aligned to your purpose. Figure out, why are you even in existence with your brand? And once you can get to that point, and once you can figure it out, and once you can really put your tribe before your very worldly needs of securing the bag and getting all these coins, I promise you, you will find joy. Joy is constant. You know, one of the things that I really find interesting is when you talk to people who have found quote-unquote success, who are open and honest about their level of joy. There's a certain level of appreciation I have for people who are that transparent. John Jackson, the co-founder of Blavity, is a person that comes to mind, who shared on a stage filled with people who were just waiting to hang on his every word, to hear about his success, who thought they were going to hear about how success has brought him riches and happiness and enjoyment. But instead we found out through his awe-inspiring speech how the person he became on climbing that successful ladder and building a business with his co-founder led him to a place of not liking who he had become, led him to a place where he felt trapped because he realized that in order for him to sustain his success, he had to sustain that same personality or persona that he had, that he no longer liked, and honestly wasn't quite sure what he was going to do, because he knew that change had to happen, and he didn't know what that change looked like for him. What I learned this year, after hearing that speech last year, is that he's no longer with Blavity, and that he is speaking with other entrepreneurs and founders, which I am sure is bringing him a lot of joy in his life. Stop falling prey to what you think is going to bring you joy. Stop falling prey to Instagrammable pictures that show you highlight reels of false narratives that really don't exist. But spend some time focusing on what you want to do. Spend some time focusing on who do you really and truly want to help. Ask yourself, what would you love doing even if you've never gotten paid a dime for it? And figure out a way to do that thing, and then figure out a way to get paid for it. There's a different focus when you are looking first at your purpose. There's a different level of how you feel about the work that you do, the value you bring into this world when you focus on your purpose. The money will come. The money will come. Especially if you build up a sound business behind your purpose, the money will come. But when that's the thing that drives you, I'm telling you right now, one, you'll never be happy enough. Two, there will always be voids in your life. Three, you'll be in this constant action of trying to acquire things to fill voids that exist. Next, you'll find that you never really find out who you are because you're too busy creating a false version of yourself. And more importantly, whoever it is that you're out there to support, whoever it is that you're out there that you think is your customer, you're never going to get them in a better space because it's no longer about an advocacy for them. It's only about how do you exploit them to make a certain amount of money off of them in order for you to thrive. Change the game. Change how you look at life. Change how you look at others who are quote-unquote influencers. Make a difference. Be a change agent. Impact the lives of others in a way that makes you feel complete. You can build a business model off of it. Many have. I can tell you about Courtney Adeleye. What does she focus on? In an industry that is a multi-billion-dollar industry who could care less about the chemicals that they put onto their clients' hair because at the end of the day it's all about the money. She helped naturalistas find a way to find beauty in their natural curls with products that are safe enough that you can take to your doctor to look at what's on there to make sure it's not harming your body, whether it's her vitamins down to her conditioners. And she did this while being a nurse, a mom, a wife, and helping other women grow healthy, gorgeous, natural hair. You can make an awesome living doing good work. The question is, are you? So with this, I hope that you find the ability to bloom where you are planted. I hope that you are in a space where you realize that your advocacy means so much more now than it ever did before. And I hope you are in a space where now you realize that despite whatever problems, challenges, or obstacles that life has given you, you have the ability to make wonderful and incredible things happen. Not just for you, but for your tribe who loves the brand that you've created. All right, ladies, with that, I hope you have an awesome, wonderful, and fabulous day. Bye.